a podcast, and I was able to, have videos on the screens and shit. Is that what you guys? Not really sure how this works, but to have, to be given a presentation based off of the material they want read, where you have an opportunity to engage in said conversation, and more than anything, I hope you can prove me wrong. Doesn't seem to work that way. This is a depiction of a rabbi teaching. Just look at even the engraving that this is. This is from, doesn't say when it's from, but it's obviously old. To think that even those old engravings, I mean, it's showing something that, who built that? All those archways, that all that back in the day when, we're talking about original, the beginning of the ADs. Abba Areka arrived at Surah City to find no lively Jewish religious public life, and since he was worried about the community of the continuity of the Jew, huh?
Continuity?
Yes. No, it's continuity. Yes, it is continuity.
Wait, don't close that.
I wasn't going to.
Is there a color showing up in the sunflower?
I don't know. What are you asking me that for? Think that's what I'm worried about right now? Crazy biatch. Yeah, well. You know what I have to say? Mm-hmm.
Saturday, right?
See? Alright, Hamza's back. We'll see if we can't get more than 5 people this time. Abba Arika arrived in Surah City to find no lively Jewish community. The continuity of the Jewish community in Babylonia. He left his colleague Samuel of Naradia and began working to establish the yeshiva that would become Surah Academy. Upon Abba Arika's arrival, teachers from surrounding cities and towns descended upon Surah. The academy was formally founded in 225 CE, several years after Erika's arrival. It's just Arikha. I guess that is Erica. All you Erics out there. See, what's interesting to me about this shit is it's like, okay, so it's just presented as like it's well, yeah, we know this. This was 225 CE. We know what happened in 225. We're real good. This guy showed, like, to think that this guy showed up at this time and this, and like that somebody was taking notes that somehow lasted until today. And when you hear the narratives that they give us, when it comes to everything, I don't think Judaism is as old as they want us to believe it is. And as somebody who believes in resets, and who believes that a reset happened in the late 17s, early 18s, mid 18s, something like that, somewhere around there, I definitely don't think that anything that supposedly happened prior to that reset is accurately depicted to us. How could it be? But when you look at everything surrounding Judaism, again, Hebrew is the youngest language on the planet. How can you have the oldest community, the father religion, all these things, but your language is the youngest one on the planet? And it's that way because, as they say, in the late 1800s, 1890s, early 1900s, a guy named Eliezer Ben Yehuda revived the language. And he admittedly used he said that in order to compensate for the deficiencies in the language, they used Aramaic, specifically Arabic, to fill in the gaps. And so, you're stuck believing. Therefore, Eliezer Ben Yehuda's son in the early 1900s became the first Hebrew speaker in the world. There's no refuting this. There's no conspiracy theory about what I'm saying. It's the narrative that they give us. It's the youngest language on the planet. You might not like it, but that's literally what they tell us. They tell us that that's how this works. Youngest language on the planet. And is basically a derivative of Arabic, where if you look at it written out, it's basically, if you were to take a mirror and put it up to Arabic, then you would get Hebrew. It's that obvious. And you would think, like, if Hebrew is supposedly the oldest, one of these super ancient languages, are you saying that there's all these scrolls and all these scriptures and all of these, engravings and all this other shit from supposedly back in the day where Hebrew was spoken everywhere, this, that, and the other, and not one dictionary? If there's all these scrolls and all this shit, why would you even have to use Arabic in the first? Shouldn't there be more than enough to cover the language that you're presenting? They done turned it into a European language with all that Yiddish. And this is the type of shit you hear when you look into their narrative. It's always a bunch of completely nonsensical, like goofy, lazy stories that then, you're required to believe it, or you're a bad person, you're an anti this, you're that, whatever. It's really such a strange thing. And like I say, it's all just this weird fantasy bullshit. Like, somebody made this shit up back when they controlled what we think. Back when, those old, like, I was watching Wonder Years with my kids last night, and Kevin and his girl are sitting there watching like a Wolfman movie or something. And the girl goes, ah! And she's scared by it and grabs a hold of his arm. Back when girls were that stupid, We're talking about shit that happened, or that you're supposed to believe, that was originally presented when people believed in just the goofiest shit. This is so boring. So leave, you crybaby. I understand learning is probably really hard for you. I understand I'm using words you don't understand and concepts you don't understand, like ending pedophilia, ending genocide, ending the control scheme. You don't want to hear about those things. I get it. Because you're a good person. This dude has no clue what he's talking about. I'm just reading it to you. I'm just reading it. Yeah. That's how this works. I love when stupid people like need to show you how stupid they are. Instead of coming on here and being like, this is beyond my ability to understand things, huh? I'm not very smart, you guys. They have a roundabout way of saying that shit. And if you ask them direct questions, they won't answer. They just cry and hide. So when you see these stories, it's like the Exodus story, right? Where it's essential to Judaism. According to them, it's essential to... Ask me anything. Why are you here? What's your motivation to be here? I mean, remember, if you say it's because it's entertaining or something like that, that's a compliment. So I'll take it. But I'm the guy that thinks we should kill pedos. I'm the guy that thinks we should stop the genocide. I'm the guy that thinks we should overthrow the Jays so we all have a better life. What motivates you to be here? Oh, yep. The sole purpose for you being here for hours on end is to see if I'll make a coherent point. You thought that was a good response? That just doesn't even, so you found some random dude, you just happened to stumble across my page, and you were like, well, I'm gonna just keep coming back here for hours on end, begging for attention by saying stupid things, not addressing anything said, because I just want to see if he'll make a coherent point. That totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Oh, you're using my word. That must have hurt you, that song, huh? I would imagine. Yep. Never. The same people over and over again for hours at a time spend their entire morning watching me because I don't make any coherent points. And since I'm making nothing but incoherent points, you would think it would be easy to debunk what I'm saying, but apparently they can't. They don't understand. It's incoherent to them to say that children shouldn't be raped. They're like, what do you mean children shouldn't? I don't understand what you're saying. That's incoherent. Children shouldn't be, why wouldn't we be raping children? That's our custom. That's what we do. Wait, we shouldn't be committing genocide? What do you mean shouldn't be committing genocide? What do you mean the Jays shouldn't be in control of everything? That's incoherent. What are you talking about? Of course the Jays should control things. What kind of incoherent things are you? This is the best they can come up with. Jumping back to the earliest points. Yep. The world is a shitty place. Oh, okay. So, again, that justifies what you're doing because of what? What are you saying to be debunked? Obviously, you should have. You should be left alone. You aren't helping. Oh, obviously, kids should be left alone. Obviously, well, is that what's happening? Obviously, kids should be left alone, is what this person says. I say we should kill those who don't leave kids alone. But this person says, oh, we should just leave those people alone. Or kids shouldn't be left alone. Or kids should be left alone, I mean. So what does that even mean? But that's who we're dealing with here. Are you? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. You should do some push-ups. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Isn't it interesting? This is the best they can come up with. It would be so much easier if they would just come in and acknowledge that, you know, I'm stupid, I don't know anything, so I'm just going to argue dumb shit because it's the best I can do. That would be one thing. But this is just fucking goofy. If you want to talk about submarines, go watch parts 1 through 9. Simple. I'm not going to stop talking about the thing that I'm talking about to appease you. I want to know how submarines. Get yourself a life, says the person who watches me. It's so obvious. I'm obviously trolling. Yep, yep, that's what it is. You find the guy who thinks we should kill pedos and stop the genocide. And of all the people you could be trolling, it's that guy. That totally makes sense. You don't seem like a pedo. You don't seem like a J at all. No, no, no. This is just normal. Anyway, I've given you guys the chance. You're just here getting everyone mad at, everyone who. Yep, I'm so mad. Look at me. I'm being forced to watch your chomo ass. I lost a bet. Yep, that's what it is. You're being forced to watch me because you lost a bet. So what you're saying is outside of my feed, there are groups of people that are talking about me, making bets and all that. That's how important I am. Gosh, that's amazing. In everything I say, obviously, like, because you're not man enough to say it, and you see it here, at least you have one person attempting to answer why they're here. They lost a bet. Because you lost a bet, meaning you have to come in and try your best to distract and detract from the feed? Is that what it is? You couldn't have lost the bet and then come here and been like, fuck yeah, we need to kill pedos. Fuck yeah, we need to overthrow the Jays. That's not how the bet works. The bet works is you have to come in and play the same exact character you guys keep playing over and over again. It's amazing how that works. I'm here because you appeared on my feed and crazy people are interesting. Yep, that's what it is. Again, crazy people saying we should kill pedos. Yeah. And let me guess, you're a Trump supporting Christian, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're probably a J, but you'll say you're a Christian. Take your meds, yep. It's got to be the meds. Anybody that thinks we should kill pedos needs medication. Anybody who doesn't fall in line and just say, we should follow the J leadership, they need medication. Never mind those who ask questions. I hate Trump and I'm an atheist. Well, then what's your motivation again? Because you think people are crazy who say we should kill pedos? And we should overthrow the Jays that control the narrative? What part is that is the bad part? Oh, here comes. Now, so you're not going to elaborate. Now it's just all I do is bitch. And yet you watch me. You and hundreds, thousands of other people watch me do it. You'll make fake profiles just so you can continue watching me. Because when I block you guys, you'll just make another profile. Well, the number's going up. And you understand that it's not just what's shown at one time. There's a long period of time where multiple people come and go. You understand that, right? Or do you not understand YouTube either? Why would you block anyone with only 20? Yep, I only have 25 subscribers. Look at all this shit. Look at this shit. Look at how desperate the whole narrative is. And it's to stop me from talking about what I was talking about. I always give the opportunity for people to actually say something that matters, but they never seem to. So anyway, it's interesting how when it comes to Judaism, it's like 100% fantasy. I don't think it's as old as we're told it is. I think they created it somewhere around the late 1800s as the main control scheme, as the one group that they want. You know, as their group. And then they obviously provided the Goyim with the Bible and the Quran, and then the other fledgling religions on the outskirts, on the edges. They are provided with the religions that talk about peace and love and, you know, being one with everything. And, you know, those are the outskirts. Those are the Native Americans. Those are the Chinese and all that stuff. These ones aren't all about conquest and taking over. This is it's all right there. Again, you're not going to find a you know, an official presidential release with the presidential seal. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, and sub. If you oppose genocide, if you oppose pedophilia, if you oppose the J slavery over the rest of us, then like, share, and sub, help out. If you disagree with me, then make sure you dislike, you smash that dislike button. Smash it. But this is the kind of shit that you have to. So again, just look at something like Exodus, which they say Exodus is essential to Judaism. You know, it's an essential point in Judaism. Oh, look, the number counts 118. So now what are you going to say? But it's an essential story in the Judaism myth. It's essential. It's there. They can't have their entire cult, all their crazy beliefs and all that, without there being an Exodus. And yet, according to all of everything but them, Exodus is a stupid, impossible story. It couldn't have happened. Right? And so you know, so many things related to Judaism fall into that category. Like I say, Hebrew is the youngest language on the planet. Invented by Eliezer ben Yehuda. Here, we'll just do this real quick, just so you guys. So, Eliezer ben Yehuda, born Eliezer Yitzhak Perlman, which is always interesting, right? Interesting how they always change their names to sound more Semitic. When a new study just came out, said 95% of Israelis don't have Semitic blood. They're Ukrainian, they're American, they're European, they're Russian. You know. The only Semitic people in the whole thing are the Palestinians. They're the ones that are Semitic from that region. And Semitic refers to all of the people of the region. Black people from North Africa are considered Semitic people. It's not a negative term at all. You know, and it encompasses black, white, brown people. All people are Semitic people. It's Semitism. Semitism is a different thing. Semitism, just so you guys can see it, we will look it up for you. Semitism definition into the Google machine. We go pull up the Merriam-Webster, right? Merriam-Webster Definition of
Semitism.
Semitism, okay?
Semitism.
Number 1A, a Semitic character or qualities. Here, let's do this just for the naysayers. Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. You see that? Policy or predisposition.
Semitism.
The rules and regulations, the policy, the rules, regulations, how we do things, and the predisposition, how we go into it thinking. Before we know any of the details, we already think, well, if it's Jays, they get favorable treatment. We don't even know who it is yet, but if it is them, then they get favorable treatment. You know, this isn't me making this shit up. This is the
Semitism.
This is the Merriam-Webster definition. And what you'll see in the comments is you're going to see a whole bunch of people who are desperately trying to change the subject because they don't want you realizing it. So much so that in 2020, while you were all scared of invisible COVID, they had hearings, had official government legislation to change the spelling of anti-Semitism from ANTI hyphen capital SEMITISM to all one word, which grammatically doesn't even make sense, ISEMITISM. And the given reason why they created, you know, basically a whole bunch of work. Somebody now has to go back through all of the records, all of the everything, and change the spelling from ANTI hyphen capital SEMITISM to the all one word, all lowercase version. The reason for doing it, I said, their given reason was because they didn't want us, the Goyim, thinking that anti-Semitism opposed something called Semitism. They knew that anybody with a brain would see, you know, hyphen, capital, like obviously this is two words. I know what anti means, so what does this mean? They basically wanted to hide it. They wanted to hide the truth from the people. Right? Why do you think that is? It's with everything. You know, why do you think the US government is making it illegal to talk about this one group? If all of this stuff is false and everything they say is true, then shouldn't they encourage conversation? Just you know, if you have some misconceptions, if you have some beliefs that aren't correct, we want you to express them so we can set you on the straight and narrow. Isn't that how that works? I know that I do what I do. I go live talking about these things, knowing nobody's ever gonna fucking debunk what I'm saying. They're actually not even gonna address it because they can't. There is no debunk of what I'm saying. I'm reading you what they want us to read. You know, I didn't make up the definition of Semitism. Merriam-Webster, the people that you accept as being the word people, they're the ones that gave us this definition. And so when you understand, like, here, let's, because I can already hear the stupidity coming through. I don't even have to read. I know nobody's going to actually address what I'm saying, right? But this is the IsraelNationalNews.com And the guy speaking is Naftali Bennett. In 2010, he was an Israeli operative, an agent, and he was the future Prime Minister of Israel. Currently, he's the former Prime Minister of Israel because between 2019 and 2022, Israel had 6 prime ministers. And for some reason, there was no interference by us. We were like, yeah, that's okay, you keep doing that. But it was Benjamin Netanyahu's bitch punk fucking motherfuck ass. Then it was Benny Gantz. Then it was punk ass Netanyahu. Then it was this guy, Naftali Bennett, who served from June of 2021 till June of 2022. Where then at some point he just decided to step down. It wasn't like there was any sort of election or anything. He steps down, and a famous talking head called Yair Lapid took over as prime minister. That just apparently that's just how that works. It's just how that works. And Yair Lapid was prime minister until November, when we were all distracted by Kanye West, and the system decided to put Netanyahu, Bezalel Smotrich, and Itmar Ben-Gvir, Avi Moaz, and others, but Ben-Gvir and Smotrich especially are war criminals, decided to put this the most openly supremacist coalition to ever be in control of Israel. You know, while we were all distracted by what Kanye said and the consequences for speaking out, they were literally putting Netanyahu in a way where he can't be removed until he wants to quit. And they ran on on the premise that they were going to they were going to retake the West Bank. Like none of what's happening is a surprise. As a matter of fact, in April or May, maybe even June, but I think it's more like April or May of 2023, I said multiple times, if Israel doesn't do a false flag that leads to genocide, by December of 2023, I'll quit doing videos altogether. I was so confident that this was going to happen, that what's happening now was going to happen, that I staked everything on it. I said I'd quit. So, Naftali Bennett has some real credentials here. He's a guy that if he says it, like, all they do is lie, right? Whenever it's something against them or whatever, they lie. But, you know, when they're bragging, sure, they embellish things, but they have no reason to lie. And if it was a lie, it would be outed as such, right? But this is IsraelNationalNews.com, because I'm lying. Ready? You want to see how much I'm lying?
Moetzet Yesha, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
I'm clearly important to you. Oh, now you're claiming it's AI and it's fake news. So what you're saying is that if it wasn't AI and it wasn't fake news, then it would be pretty fucking important, right? That's your go-to. Whenever you can't actually argue something, this is the go-to. Well, this is IsraelNationalNews.com. It's a pretty well-documented interview. And it's from 2010, so the AI capabilities weren't nearly as good back then. But look at the cowardly, the cowardly response. Holy shit, that's really telling. I better say it's fake news. Because what does he say? He says he acknowledges that Israel is the number one source, that Wikipedia is the number one source of information in the world. He says that. And so I always say, like, imagine if you were the number one napkin producer in the world, or you were the number one lawn company in the world, whatever it is. You got yourself to that position. And then Israel just decides they're going to come do a training day, I can't believe I'm forgetting the words here.
In conjunction with my Israel.
An instruction day, that's what it is. They're going to come to your company and do an instruction day to teach you how to do your job. Because in 2010, Wikipedia was already the number one source of information in the world. And Israel sent very high-level agents to teach them how to do their job properly. Because apparently they didn't know how to edit properly. Because, and just in case you're sort of on the fence and you're like, well, what did he mean? He's like, for example, he gives you an example. For example, if people want to search the Gaza flotilla, which was a much bigger version of the Greta Thunberg thing that happened all the way back in 2010. A group of ships, this was like 6 or 7 large boats, large like river boat ferry type ships, yachts. They were about as big as, they're not super yachts, but they're yachts. Were packed full of supplies, food, clothing, medicine for the people of Gaza specifically. And this ship was flying, was flying a French flag, so they were under French jurisdiction. They were in international waters. And overnight, during using the cover of night, Israel decided to attack the ships. Man, what the fuck? Boarding and commandeering the ships, just like they did with the Greta Thunberg thing. Except in one situation on one of the ships, those guilty people fought back against the pirates storming their ship in the middle of the night. And in return, they say that one Israeli officer lost their life and 11 others were injured. Again, there's literally no proof of that anywhere, but that's what they say. While on the ship that they illegally boarded, 9 people lost their lives, 6 of whom were killed execution style, meaning they were on their knees and they were shot in the head. And when the international outcry came from it, when there was the international outcry and the Israelis were in court, they said, well, it's because they had the right to defend themselves. Because as they were attacking the ship, the people on the ship attacked them. What the fuck? Why would they have attacked them? But they attacked them, and that gave Israel the justification to kill 9 of them, 6 of which execution style. So if you want to know about that story, like I know, because I only know about that story because I saw that video of this video that we just watched. I saw him say, for example, if you search the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to influence what is written, how it's written, and ensure it has it's balanced and Zionist in nature. I really don't know how much more obvious or telling you need it to be. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, sub, it helps out. If this bothers you, like, share, sub. But you literally have a prime minister, a future prime minister, bragging about how they've interfered to control the number one source of information so that it has a Zionist perspective. Like, this is something that if you say this in the outside, you get, labeled. You can't say that. That's terrible. Naftali Bennett says it. He brags about it. So for me, I use Wikipedia as my number one source of information because, one, it's easy. All of you can find it. You don't have to be some super computer person who can figure things out and, have a special connection and blah, blah, blah. I want you to be able to find everything I'm saying as easily as I do. But two, because it's admittedly what they want us to know. Specifically, my target bad guy is who admittedly controls the source of information. So it might not be 100% true, but it's the truth that they want you to know. And that's pretty fucked up. That's pretty fucked up. So when we're using Wikipedia for the narrative, and I tell you guys, don't you wonder what's happening in the comments? I don't even bother reading the comments because, unfortunately, 90% of them are going to be just weird people who you're like, wait a minute, what is the motive? You could ask them all day what their motivation is and they're not going to answer you. Or it'll be something like ridiculous. But you have to ask yourself, this guy, his mission statement, the whole purpose of this feed is to change the laws so that pedophiles are killed. But the only way we can do that is if us Goyim all unite and overthrow the Jays that control the narrative, the people behind the genocide, the people behind the pedophilia, the people behind our government bullshit. That's my goal. I don't have a problem saying that. I don't have a problem expressing it. And so, especially since they won't actually answer what it is that they're here for, you have to take into consideration what is happening on my feed. Who the fuck are all these strangers who apparently are mad at the guy who thinks we should kill pedos? Who are apparently mad at the guy who thinks we should, stop the genocide that's taking place. We should not allow ourselves to be ruled by a cult. A disgusting, disgusting cult. Who the fuck is going to oppose someone like me? You might not like the way I look or talk or whatever, but when you find out that my goal is killing pedos and ultimately Goyim freedom, how does that not, how does that not inspire you? Or how does it inspire you to go negative? I never understand that part. If you really want to talk about submarines, really honest and truly, because you're a huge submarine enthusiast, and the stuff that we are talking about Well, that doesn't matter in comparison. You know, the genocide, stopping the pedophilia, all that stuff, that doesn't matter. This person wants to talk about submarines because they don't understand titles. And let's just say this video started 30 minutes or 45 minutes ago, and for the first 10 minutes we were talking about submarines. But then we got onto this topic. Who is going to be like, well, stop talking about what you're talking about and go back to the other thing? That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk. All these huge submarine enthusiasts. Apparently, all you have to do is make a submarine channel and you'll be one of the most popular people on YouTube. You know, you could have a huge, who knew that submarines were such a popular thing? I had no idea. So, again, trying to answer questions because you know you're not going to get any real answers from the system or even from these guys. You have to ask yourself, who is behind all of these fake profiles? Well, I have an answer. The first answer, there's two actually, is Team Jorge. Now, Team Jorge is just one group. Remember that. It's just one Israeli Black Ops organization. There are hundreds, if not thousands more doing the exact same thing. But Team Jorge was the one that got exposed, right? Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm-run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of presidential elections. So, like, I don't even, this part's always funny to me, like, it literally tells you that they have the capability of interfering with presidential elections around the world. Do you honestly think if they can do that, they can't interfere with a random YouTube page? If you can interfere with elections and bypass all the different countries, you know, security measures and just all of that stuff. Are we saying that fucking with a random YouTube page wouldn't be like child's play? Wouldn't that be easy? The group was exposed in February of 2023 after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from, because it says from Israel and France at the top with a consortium of other journalists, but it was actually organizations in France, Germany, Indonesia, Israel, Kenya, Spain, Tanzania, and the United States. The organization has been active since at least 2015 on paper, and 2015 is just before you're told that Russia interfered with the election. Remember? Russia. Russia interfered with the election to get Trump elected. You know, that's the narrative we're given. We're not shown any evidence of it. You know, they can't even give you a description of how they supposedly did this. But most importantly, Trump lost. Trump lost by 2,700,000 votes. 2,700,000 more people voted for Hillary than they did Trump. And yet the APAC swamp that Trump promised he was going to drain, swore up and down, his whole campaign was he was going to drain the swamp. Kind of like he's going to cut the gas and food prices. Kind of like he's going to end all the wars within 24 hours. Kind of like he's going to release all the you know, the different files, the Epstein files, the JFK files, all that other stuff. How well does that work out? He seems to not be a fan of you know, fulfilling his promises. But in 2015, these guys, Team Jorge, were caught up in the Cambridge Analytica scandal that you've completely forgotten about, but was a really big deal back then. And again, they had to do with election tampering. So, you know, when you're not given any examples of how Russia did it, and apparently they weren't even successful because the candidate that they backed didn't win, you know, but you can connect it to Israel. You can see how, you know, AIPAC, Israel-controlled AIPAC, put Trump in office anyway. And Hillary just left. Hillary was like, all right, see ya. Trump loses in 2020 and supposedly there's a big riot at the Capitol and he won't let go and all this other shit. Hillary literally wins. She could be the first female president in the history of the United States. She would go down, that would be like living forever. She would go down forever as the first female president. And instead she's like, nah, I don't care. I'll just leave. I wasn't supposed to win anyway, so. It's all so fucking crazy. And it's all so obvious. But, you know, I digress. And let me keep providing you with proof. On paper since 2015, and boasts of having manipulated 33, gotta love that 33, for those of you who know, you know, there's a significance behind 33. You know, if not, you might want to look into it. 33 presidential elections worldwide. Don't worry, all you white guys, don't worry. Many of them were in Africa. Many, meaning 4 or more. And if you actually look it up, and you go beyond the Wikipedia narrative and you actually start looking into the story itself, the different articles that were written, the few times that they failed were in Africa. Many of them in Africa, and 27 cases with successful results. 27 out of 33 times they tried to influence a presidential election, they were successful. 6 times they weren't. The examples that exist regarding their interference, at least 3 or 4 of them are failed attempts in Africa. So it really, you know, I mean, imagine, I always say this, but imagine a baseball player hitting 27 out of 33 times. That's 81%, 82%, rounded up. 82% of the time that they tried to interfere with an election to swing it one way or another, they were successful. That's just crazy. That is crazy. Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal, T-A-L, Hanan, H-A-N-A-N, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative. Understand that if this information is this available on YouTube, I mean on Wikipedia, the true narrative is much worse. This is the best that Israel personally could spin this. And don't sit here and act like anybody can edit Wikipedia. Anybody can suggest an edit on Wikipedia if that page isn't locked. Most of the pages having to do with Israel are locked. But even if it's not locked, you can suggest it. You know, if anybody could just edit Wikipedia as they wanted to edit Wikipedia, they could destroy Wikipedia. They could literally go into the edit feature, click select all, click delete, and then click save. And they could just do it over and over again, just completely wrecking Wikipedia. So anybody dumb enough to think that they can just edit Wikipedia, or anybody can edit, you're foolish. That would be a foolish business decision on Wikipedia's part. Instead, you suggest an edit that is sent to the Israeli taught editors, and they check to see if your edit is balanced and Zionist in nature. And if it is, then the edit sticks. If it doesn't fit the narrative, then it's removed. I mean, just as simple as this Team Jorge entry. I read this shit all the time. There are these trolls on this page that will go to insane lengths to try to interfere with me. And I'm explaining who those people are, right? If editing Wikipedia was as simple as just making an edit, knowing that I'm going to read this page, you would think they would edit it to say something, Guy Williams is a dumbass, blah, blah, something like that. And I would read it as I'm reading this. And yet it never happens because they can't just edit things. Your edit might last a minute, but it triggers the editors who check it, and when it doesn't fit the balanced Zionist perspective, they remove it. According to Tal Heyman, the group's leader, Team Jorge has existed for more than 2 decades and has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. If it's so obvious, if it's so well known that there's a Wikipedia page about it, knowing that Israel controls Wikipedia, why doesn't our government do something about it? You'll see interview after interview with Suckadick talking about how proud he is that Facebook got rid of a 1,000 bot farm, a 1,000 profile bot farm out of China, 800 profiles out of the Philippines. Show me one interview where Suckadick is talking about how they removed a bunch of bot profiles out of Israel. And remember, this is just one organization. This isn't Israel as a whole. This is just one Black Ops organization. Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. Pay attention. The software automates centralized control of thousands, according to the articles, as many as 30,000 profiles at any given time. Thousands of fake social media profiles on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. As many as 30,000. So if they want to make somebody a star, 10 of these groups that they have create their 30,000 profiles and go make that person overnight famous. Or on the other side, if they want to attack somebody, I mean, look at the comment section. Do any of you honestly believe that there are Americans who support genocide? Who support taking our tax dollars to pay for a foreign country's genocide of another foreign group of people? What Americans are all for that? What Americans are all for the First Amendment being destroyed to protect a foreign country? That American college students, university students are being arrested for doing a constitutionally protected activity, First Amendment protected activity. The First Amendment's the free speech, free press, the right to assemble, the right to redress your grievances with your government, and what did I say? Free press, freedom of speech, free press, freedom of speech, right to address your grievances, assembly, and religion. Sorry. Which is interesting because, not having a religion, you don't get the same freedoms as the person that has the religion. It's really weird. But the college students are participating in First Amendment protected activity. Like, literally, if there was a situation where, little J kids were getting beat up, that would be all the news would talk about. The fact that this has been going on for as long as it has and that story hasn't been pushed on us yet shows you everything. Everything you need to know. The only thing that's happening is they don't like what's being said. They don't like what's being done. They don't like that a bunch of Americans, a bunch of Goyim, which coincidentally, when you're talking about Harvard and Columbia and Yale and all these are only schools that rich people go to. Poor people can't afford to send their kids to Harvard, and Harvard isn't handing out scholarships left and right to poor people, if at all. But you know, this isn't me. This is famous people's kids. This is rich and powerful people's kids are going to Harvard, Yale, Columbia, shit like that. So where are all the parents of all these kids either A, condemning what their kids are doing, or B, condemning what's happening to their children on American soil? These American citizens are being arrested for doing a constitutionally protected activity. They're being discriminated against for protesting against the genocide of another population. So anybody that has a problem with it, and the thing is, you have to listen to what the opposition says, right? The opposition isn't saying, good for you, we should be standing up for all life. The opposition is the one associating it with Judaism. If you don't support what Israel is doing, then that's anti blah, blah, blah. They're the ones that are saying it. Confusing people, getting people to be like, oh, no, that's not what I'm doing, that's not what I'm doing. Not realizing that anti-Semitism is a badge. Semitism is we looked it up, remember? Policy or predisposition favorable to one specific group of people. You can guess who that is. Policy and predisposition. That's supremacy. If you have all the rules and regulations plus the way people think, all of those things that you're required to have favoritism. You don't have to do anything to earn that favoritism. We're just required to give it to you. That's called supremacy. They just worded it nicely and slick. They're slick about their wording. That's supremacy. So when somebody calls you anti-supremacism, you should be cool with it. You should be like, yeah, thank you. I do. Because if, Semitic refers to the Palestinian people. They're the Semitic ones in this conflict. Recent study came out, said 95% of the Israelis don't have Semitic blood. They're from Ukraine. They're from Europe. They're from the Americas. They're from Europe. We're experiencing something so unique, so brazen, so in your face, fuck you, don't care what you think. Right? And it's so awful. But it's like the epitome of what everybody's been saying for all these years. You've been told that there's this one group that you're not allowed to talk about. We all know who it is. You know, I could make a video all day about Muslims, about Christians. I could speak freely and not have to worry about any sort of interference. But I make a video about not understanding this cult. To me, it seems like a pretty violent, disgusting pedophilia cult. And if I'm wrong about any of it, by all means, let me know. Right? Don't hide. Don't, you know, don't avoid the conversation. Engage. Help me understand what I'm getting wrong. But you'll never see that. You know? Show me the Ben Shapiro video where somebody is talking about something that Israel's doing or that the Jays do, and he, you know, intelligently and reasonably debunks what they're saying. Any video. Because any video I've ever seen of him, he gets mad, he starts crying, he starts making accusations. You can't say that. Why? You can't say that. Though you can't talk about those things, you dumb goyim. And that's what you'll find across the board. You know, ask any of them to justify what's going on in Israel. And obviously the first thing they're going to say is Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. October 7th, October 7th. But watch what happens when you say, yeah, I don't think any Israelis died or were taken hostage on October 7th. I think it's all false flag bullshit, and I haven't seen anything to prove otherwise. I've seen, you know, a handful of staged videos that any, you know, like if we were in court, I could absolutely make a legal defense of my argument and make a legal argument for investigation, at the very least. I mean, the Leahy law itself means we shouldn't be giving Israel any more money, and we shouldn't have been doing it for a long time. But the Leahy law apparently has special provisions when it comes to Israel, which is just insane. But I know I could make, you know, I could make all the arguments. Show me one video, like this is how cheesy the whole thing is. So once everybody starts making fun of this narrative that we're given, that somehow Hamas used paragliders to bypass the greatest defense system in the region by far, with all the cameras and all the surveillance and all the weaponry and everything like this. This like, if you're gonna attack anywhere, this is not the region to attack. And yet somehow Hamas did it and bypassed everything using paragliders. And when people started making fun of that narrative, talking about how ridiculous it is, well, don't worry. According to Israel, Hamas put out a video on like Hamas.com or Facebook.com /backslash Hamas, or I don't know where Hamas even begins to upload videos. I don't even know how Hamas would have cell phone service at this point. When you see the videos coming out of these areas, I always wonder who happens to be filming just before the bomb explodes. They're looking at the thing, and then all of a sudden the bomb explodes. That seems like set up shit to me. I don't know how else it could be that way. Somebody just happens to be filming a building, and then it explodes. Then a bomb drops on it. That just doesn't. It doesn't add up. And again, how would they even have cell phone service? Have you seen what Gaza looks like? There's no cell phone towers there. There's no cell phone service there. That means every video you see is what they want us to see. Otherwise, we wouldn't see it. And it's probably manufactured or staged in some way. They want us to see what's happening and feel helpless and feel, guilty and feel weak and powerful. What's up, Matt? All right, you see through the spam. Yep, nope, it is hard, isn't it? But see, there's that connection there. I happen to look down to see. But think about it. How are they even, how do they even have service? It doesn't make any sense. But what you see is when you look it up, I've tried to look it up. I tried looking up Hamas attacks Israel October 7th. And the videos that pop up are just fake. Oh, like I was saying about the paragliders. So everybody's making fun of this narrative. Luckily for Israel, Hamas puts out a video that they made of them practicing using these paragliders. They made a video and then they uploaded it. Just in case anybody was questioning or didn't believe Israel's narrative, Hamas puts out a video uploaded to their system through whatever. Like, it's all just, it's such an insane narrative. I other than you are a piece of shit. You're a racist. You're just a bigot in general. Lots of different ists, lots of different obias. And you, how do you see this, what's happening? And it's not even hidden. It's there for you to find. Like, most of you don't know what a memorandum of understanding is. But all you have to do is look it up. And it is sort of, like, it's interesting how it'll sort of lead you in the way to finding out, but then at the last minute where it should be talking about Israel, it makes the right turn. But the memorandum of understanding is one of them. There's lots of them. These are basically like treaties, but they have no legal obligation. Like, they can't be taken to court, and they don't have to be above the board. There doesn't have to be transparency. So these types of basically treaties happen behind closed doors without Goyim interference, essentially. And so one memorandum of understanding says that Israel is to have the mightiest military in the region. It's a qualitative military advantage. You can look it up. It's easily found. Qualitative military advantage, which means Israel is to have the mightiest military in the region by a given arbitrary percentage that they just decide. They're to have this much better of a military than anybody else. And if anything compromises that, then the United States is required to offset that, to balance things back out and give Israel whatever they have to have that qualitative military advantage percentage that they think is, that they've said is the right thing. And so, again, something that you guys probably haven't heard of, or maybe you have, but you have no idea what it is something called a normalization deal. And the normalization deals, you might know it by its other name, which is the Abraham Accords. I know you've heard that term, but you have no idea what it means. And basically, while we were all totally distracted by COVID and not paying attention to the Katie Johnson story and all the Epstein stuff that was actually happening, Epstein-Trump stuff that was actually happening, while we were all distracted by that shit, Trump was, we were distracted by COVID. We weren't paying attention to the Katie Johnson stuff. We also weren't paying attention to what Trump was doing, which was signing these Abraham Accords. And these Abraham Accords are what's known as normalization deals with Israel. And basically, countries like Bahrain, countries like the UAE, countries over there in the Middle East, the Semitic countries, Israel wanted to be able to, so Qatar, right? World Cup was held in Qatar a few years back. And the Israelis wanted to go to watch World Cup. Well, they weren't welcome in Qatar. So the United States hurried up and facilitated a normalization deal between Qatar and the and Israel, which made it so Israelis could travel freely to and from Qatar. It's supposed to go both ways, but it doesn't, and everybody knows that. They know they can't go travel through Israel unmolested. The Israelis are supposed to be unmolested in their travel, and that's part of it. And the main thing that the Abraham Accords signed into existence was that if by some chance, some weird 100% not likely or orchestrated chance that Israel facilitates a false flag operation against themselves and then blames the Palestinians, that whatever country signs the Abraham Accords agrees not to interfere. That was like the main thing. And for doing this, the United States then is obligated to this country in yearly donations, in equipment, in, whatever they decide to do. One example is with Bahrain, right? And this ties into the memorandum of understanding aspect of things. So let's say, part of the normalization deal was that we gave Bahrain F-35 fighter jets. It was more than 20, but I'm just going to say we gave them 20 F-35 fighter jets to play nice with Israel. Because of the memorandum of understanding that says Israel is to have the qualitative military advantage, we now have to give Israel 35 F-35 fighter jets to not only offset what they have, but the advantage that is required. And this is just one of those fucked up rules and shit that's available to you to know, but you're distracted. The Epstein thing is a huge distraction. All of these Colberts and the Daily Shows and all of these people talking about this shit. Well, where were you a couple of years ago? Why weren't you talking about it a few years ago when it was the same story? Most of this shit was the same information. You just didn't feel like covering it back then? What about the Palestine stuff? Why aren't you covering that? Obviously the Epstein stuff was and always will be a distraction. Epstein wasn't famous. Back in 2009, Epstein wasn't famous. In 2019, Epstein wasn't famous. He was only famous because of the pedophile stuff. But he was an immensely powerful behind-the-scenes person who, they literally set up an army barracks specifically for him to have a jail cell. He didn't actually go to jail in 2009. They set up a specific army barracks that the jail workers had to wear suits every day to work. They couldn't wear police uniforms. They had to wear suits. And Epstein rarely stayed there. He was required to stay the night in the cell, but he was allowed to freely travel 12 out of 12 or 12 out of 24 hours a day, or 16 hours out of the day, something like that. But even then, he never did it. But the fact that he ever got in trouble in the first place, and we knew about it, shows you it's a distraction. Remember, they're playing 5D chess. They've had this planned out for a long time. They set up the Epstein patsy a long time ago. We should know nothing about Epstein. He should be just another... How many of you guys know who Terry Richardson is? Look up Terry Richardson nude. It's going to take you on a bit of a journey. But Terry Richardson was a photographer to the stars. And you'll find all sorts of pictures of him, like fucking Juliette Lewis and, you know, I mean, just tons of different broads, tons of different models and shit where he's fucking them. Jared Leto's there. Johnny Knoxville is there. They're shirtless. They're hanging out with this guy. Like, this dude is a bad dude. There's one picture of Macaulay Culkin, a young-looking Macaulay Culkin, with his shirt off, and you can only see from like here up. But he's doing a spit take. He's got some spit, and it's about to drip out of it's dripping out of his mouth, about to drop on his chest. You tell me what the fuck that's supposed to symbolize. But you guys have never heard about Terry Richardson, and he was charged with all kinds of shit. Some of you might barely know about Dan Schneider, but he's free and, you know, doing what he wants. There are so many of them who... Dan Schneider was at least on TV, so you'd recognize him. There are so many guys like Epstein from behind the scenes that you'd never even recognize. The Sheldon Adelsons of the world, even though he's dead, but... There are so many of these guys that you never recognize that get all sorts of trouble. You know, that have all sorts of hush money payments and all that. You don't know who they are because the system doesn't tell you to know who they are. Just like with Kanye. Right? Kanye was playing a role. In November of 2022, while they were putting Netanyahu, Bezalel Smotrich, Itmar Ben-Gvir, Avi Moaz, and this whole super supremacist coalition in charge of Israel, even though Netanyahu was under indictment, and there was obvious corruption in the whole thing, you were being distracted by Kanye West. Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, and Dave Chappelle, all playing the role. All doing their best to bring the focus on to black people, because black people are the ultimate distraction. And so Kanye, just before the coalition that's run on the fact that they're going to take over the West Bank, they're going to limit the powers of the judicial branch, they're going to basically... They're not going to erase Netanyahu's charges. They're going to erase the ability for him to have been charged in the first place, saying that people in his position can't be charged with crimes of corruption and shit like that. So that his charges never existed to begin with. He's not removing the charges, he's removing the crime. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? But they ran on that platform. And they were put into the position overwhelmingly. This man who has been under indictment for years, who ran saying, we're going to retake the West Bank, we're going to cause a genocide. The people overwhelmingly put him in, right? And while you were paying attention to Kanye, that was what was happening. And what did Kanye do? Kanye made a vague, nothing threat. I'm going to go DEF CON 3 on the Jays. Definitely a con. Number 3. What you got for me? Nothing? Not even junk mail? Good, good, good. Have a great day. No, it's okay. I have plenty. While you were distracted by Kanye saying some vague nothing threat, that's one, by saying that, explaining to you what Semitic means, saying I'm black, I'm Semitic too. That's 2. And saying because of that he can say what he wants. So that's like 2A, 2B. And number 3, he exposed that every person in the entertainment industry, every higher up everywhere, has Jays in their contract who make money off of them. Which in reality, like, nothing he said was negative. It's only negative because they tell you to think that way. But if they were smart, they would say, yeah, you know what? We realize that there are a lot of talented people out there who don't necessarily know how to build themselves up or get themselves in front of people or whatever. So we work very hard behind the scenes to ensure that everybody, race, creed, color, sex, whatever, that everybody has the opportunity to be heard. And yeah, that's work. So there are people that need to be paid for their work behind the scenes. That would literally be all they would have to say. They should be taking, like it's amazing, You only make up 0.183% of the world's population and you control that much? You only make up 2 to 3% of the US population and you control all of Hollywood, government? Oh, that's an amazing accomplishment. They've tricked you into thinking that if you say this one group has all the money, the power, and the control, that's somehow a racial slur. That's like all the negative things you hear about black people, Asians, Mexicans, whatever. The same thing as saying, well, this group has the money, the power, and the control. How dare you say such an awful thing? And the only reason that's the case is because if you know who controls it, you can assign blame. We're supposed to think that, like, this fucked up world is this chicken with its head cut off just running around out of control. And when there's no one to blame, that narrative is much easier to push across. But when you understand that this is all by design, it's all under control, well, then there's blame to assign. And basically, it could be a lot better, you just don't want it to be. And when you understand that that's what's happening, it really changes your perspective on things. It doesn't have to be this way. There doesn't have to be a genocide right now. There doesn't have to be anyone starving. There doesn't have to be anyone homeless, especially no veterans who were tricked into going and fighting for some Israeli nonsense that then cost them their fucking sanity or a limb or something like that. Why should those people even have to fight a little bit for what, for a comfortable life, for their needs to be met? They were dumb kids that got tricked into some patriotism bullshit and then were forced to fight in some foreign bullshit, and it fucked them up. They watched a bunch of Rambo movies and thought it was going to be like that. They had no idea what it would be like. And actually, Rambo does a pretty good job. Like, Rambo, I think, sidebar, Rambo movies are actually some of the best movies ever made. Because each one of them tackles a really, really crazy issue going on. That it's not just some action killer movie. They're talking about some really crazy shit. And I don't know which Rambo it was, 4 or the one where he's older and he's, on the boat. Like, they show graphically what that shit looks like, not the, I got shot and I fall down. They need to stop glorifying war, and I think that's what that movie, its intent was, is to not glorify it like he accidentally did. You'll notice how, if you're paying attention and you look at the comments, It's not like anybody's actually addressing what I'm saying and telling me what I'm saying, how it's wrong. There's a lot of shit talk that comes through, but there's literally nothing other than crybaby. You shouldn't be saying that. Why is this goyim saying that kind of shit? Why? Why not just tell me what I'm missing here? The problem being you're gonna go with the religious aspect, and I don't fall for that. I'm not some dumb Christian that's been tricked into believing I'm second class in my own belief structure. Christians, if you're not chosen, what are you? I know if you look at the Bible, those that aren't chosen are slaves. So if you don't believe that you're Christian God's favorite people, why do you worship Christian God? Shouldn't you be the thing that is like the top dog? Wouldn't that make more sense to you? You Catholics out there, all of you crazy Catholics who call yourselves Christians or Lutherans, or, you know, Mormons, or well, Mormons, that's a whole different thing. That's a different thing altogether. Shit's crazy. The shit's all crazy. But it's funny too, because this is where arrogance always steps in, right? Most Christians think that Mormons are nuts. They think that Scientology is nuts. Islam is nuts. There are more Muslims than there are anyone else, and yet Christians think that you know it's nuts compared to their thing's right. Their thing is right. And you ask them like, well, why do you think your thing is right? And none of them ever say, because I've studied, you know, into everything that Islam offers, that Scientology offers, that Mormonism offers, Judaism offers, you know, all the Hindus and Buddhists. I've studied all of them, and I can debunk everything that they say. But when it comes to Christianity, I'm just stuck. I can't debunk any of it, so I know it's real. Not a single person says that. Not a single fucking person. Somebody said it, you're, Y-O-U-R, wrong. Fucking silly, man. All of you out there that claim to be one thing or another, whether it's, you know, one branch of the Abrahamic religions or another, whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, you're a Jew, not one of you can give any legitimate reasons why. And again, for some reason, instead of like somebody asks you why or, you know, elaborate, instead of getting excited and thinking, oh, great, I get to explain what I help them understand, mad, start attacking. Why is that? That seems like what, you know, schoolyard behavior that somebody does when, you know, they can't answer for something. You know, they say something stupid and people are like, what do you mean? Oh yeah, you slept with that girl? Well, prove it. And they get all mad. Whatever I did. It's fucking silly, man. Look at this shit. Look at you're Y-O-U-R a fool for believing that. Somebody says Y-O-U-R stupid, Y-O-U-R fool. This is what I mean. Like, how come no Christians are coming through and just explaining what's going on here? Why are all these people who I guess are mad because I'm either talking about Christianity or Judaism. And instead of, being like normal people, like, can you imagine if me and you were standing outside just having a conversation? We were talking about whatever we were talking about. And this person just came walking up and started just running their mouth. You look like you need a shower. If they could express the "you're a fool" thing spelled incorrectly, I don't really know how, unless you're like, "Hey, you're a fool." Like, then I guess I could see how you could verbalize getting the spelling wrong. But just imagine that. Imagine somebody just interjecting into the conversation with nothing to say. And if you were talking about, how great Burger King is over McDonald's, and they came in and they were all upset, Burger King sucks, Burger King is this, Burger King is that, you'd be safe to assume that it's because they like McDonald's, right? It's not even a leap there. If you're gonna get mad, like, I can assume you like other things, but if the argument itself is Burger King versus McDonald's, you don't have to be like, I'm a McDonald's representative. The harder you fight against the Burger King thing, the more I'm gonna think you represent McDonald's. And if the argument is about Burger King versus McDonald's, and you come in and you're like, you should talk about something else, I'm gonna be like, why? Like, if you want to talk about something else, go talk about something else. That's cool. Why should we be talking about whatever you want to talk about? Let's see. Blame the sick, godless people in this world. Yep. Because it's not like God and people who believe in God haven't been behind the worst atrocities ever in this world, right? It's all those atheists out there who are causing all the problems. It's the atheists out there that keep getting caught doing these crazy shootings. It's the atheists out there that keep getting caught raping children, right? That's who the bad guys are, consistently, have always been. Is that what you say? Like, it's so funny how you say the arguments that make your shit look bad, and yet you somehow think it makes you look good. Look at how desperate Drake is. Drake is encouraging a dox. That's how desperate and sad this whole thing is. Because instead of, being a decent person who, thinks you're right, we should be killing pedos and we should be overthrowing the J narrative and we should stop the genocide and all that shit. Instead of anything like that, it's this crybaby shit. Right? Like, this is exactly why I just avoid the comments altogether most of the time. Because it's just so strange. If I'm wrong, then what's the problem? Why is it so hard to prove me wrong? Right? Why is it, you ask these people over and over again, what is the motivation here? What has you spending hours of your life, trying to get my attention? It's not like you do this to newscasters, and then when you get their attention, be like, why aren't you guys doing more stories on these pedos out here? You got local pedo hunters doing the jobs that the police aren't doing. Why are we giving money to Israel? Isn't the news talking about this more? Why don't they interview someone that's opposed to the narrative we're given? There's so many videos out there of First Amendment people exposing how corrupt our system is. And if you really are like, I'm a troll, I have nothing going on in my life, you could absolutely be trolling the cops that get exposed. What's that officer's name? Jovan or something? Joe, what the fuck is his name? Damn it.
What time is it?
Damn. Why can't I find it? You would think this would be easy to find. Where is this shit? Where are these videos? Man, this should be easy to find. You guys know what I'm talking about? God damn. He kept saying, I don't recall, I don't recall. There it is. Officer Joffrion. Joffrion. This dude is such a motherfucker. If you can find this shit, go look it up. And like, this is what I mean. Like, why wouldn't you be trolling that police department? And you know, getting them to fire this guy who I believe is still working. This piece of shit has such a disregard for his own position. Like, he has no respect for what he does, let alone for the people he serves. It's like he's easily the worst cop I've ever seen. His lack of respect for the law, for the institution that he's supposed to uphold, it's insane. And you know, a lot of times you can say these assholes got drunk and he's not even drunk. He's just a jerk. Like, it's so crazy. And it's not like this is going to make him a better officer. It's not like since he became famous and people recognize him, he's like gotten better. I'm sure this puts an even bigger chip on his shoulders. But, you know, this is what this is what I don't understand. If you're not Team Jorge, and you're not act.il, and you really are just an American who has some sort of agenda, I really don't even know what it is. Like, let it out. Be proud of yourself. whatever you think, whatever you believe, be proud of yourself. I back the blue 100%. That's crazy. Why would you back anything 100%? The scary part is that, the idea that if there were good cops, there wouldn't be any bad cops because the good cops would be exposing the bad cops. But, no position out there is 100% good or 100% bad. There definitely are people who, want to be good. There are people who want, who get into it thinking they're going to make that difference. They're going to help people. And then shit changes. They have protocols. They have hierarchies. It's a really, really insane there's a guy called Michael Wood, Officer Michael Wood. And he was interviewed on Rogan a couple of times. And he talked about how that's who he was. He knew from a young age that he wanted to be a cop. He went into the military, did the military police thing. When he got out of the military, he went to Baltimore to be a police officer. And he, at some point he got hurt. And I don't remember the actual sequence of events that took place, but he ended up speaking out against the corruption in the system while he was on leave, I think. And because of that, he got attacked by his own people. And he was shocked by everything that transpired and just went public with it all. And, he said that it's a system that's built for corruption. They're told to, to police the poor neighborhoods. When the reality is, if they really wanted to, bust people with drugs who would then actually pay their fines and not end up doubling down, going to prison, they would be arresting the rich white kids that buy the drugs. But they don't want to. And these are the things that he was talking about. And he's a high-ranking police officer in Baltimore. There is no conspiracy theory here. But the other part of the Team Jorge example as to what's going on my feed, as to who could possibly be, so obsessed with me that they would spend hour after hour, day after day, month after month on my feed, just trying to get attention and trying to talk shit to the guy who thinks we should kill pedos and overthrow the Jays that control our narrative, therefore stopping the genocide. To ask who is going to be my opposition, the only thing I can logically attach are people on the other side of that. People who disagree. You disagree that we should kill pedos. Well, who do I know that ever disagrees with that statement? Everybody I've ever talked to, even the people that are pretending, have learned to say, kill them. We need to kill them. We need to kill pedos. What are you talking about? We don't need to pay for them to be in a slap on the wrist jail sentence in a protected part of the prison. We don't need them to have that. Nobody says, oh, well, we need to send them to prayer camp so we can pray that out of them. Every person you ever ask says kill him. So why doesn't the law say that? Why wouldn't the law reflect how the people see things? And so when I'm doing this and you have the people that come in and have the negative perspective and try to get me to stop and talk shit, who other than pedos, who would that be? Other than Jays and pedos or J pedos? Who's really going to waste so much of their life on me? And the crazy part is, it's not like they do a good job and they like, you know, they make good arguments or anything. Everything they say just proves my point even more. You have to ask yourself who that is. Oh, I do ignore them. I mean, there are times when I address things because either I get bored or belch or it's, you know, it's just convenient or whatever. But I do think pointing it out is important because, you know, for the most part, like, how many people do you see that get these kinds of numbers just talking, not doing anything else? You know, sure, there are people who are cutting fruit and there are people with weird fetishes, I guess. But not only do you never see something like this, you definitely never see something with the comment section like mine. And so when you see something that's out of the ordinary, you have to address it, especially when we're talking about what we're talking about. And this is a great example of what we're talking about. So this is act.il, and this is one of these locked pages, so nobody can actually edit this. But act.il was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose online, quote, anti-Israel content, such as the boycott, divestments, and sanctions BDS movement. Its activities were referred to as an, quote, online propaganda campaign and a, quote, virtual situation room for pro-Israel experts. Now, check this out. Act.il directed its users to, quote, missions to like, comment on, and share pro-Israel material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Users were guided on how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points. So, this guy's schizo, this guy's crazy, this guy this guy does, like, the comments that you see the same thing over and over again, different profiles happens to say the exact same thing. Boy, that's weird. That's either some NPC bullshit or that's some interference of some sort. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. Listen, by completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. So essentially, they turned trolling people like me into a real-life video game where they get prizes for doing it. What the hell? Listen to his voice.
What's wrong with that?
Holy shit. My kid grew a lot. Ask Sky Daddy to comfort you. Gotta love Sky Daddy. So between Team Jorge and act.il, I believe I can explain the comment section a hell of a lot better than any of you can. And seriously, if if I'm not talking about you, if you're not either a bot, or B, somebody playing the video game, and you really are just some loser who thinks the guy talking about pedos and thinks the guy who thinks we should, stop the genocide and overthrow the Jays that control the narrative, blah, blah, blah. You think that guy's right. Like, who are you? You're such a loser. You're a much bigger loser than if you're just a bot or if you're doing a job. And this is the only way that I've been forced to see it, because I just can't make sense of it. I refuse to believe that there are so many people out there who don't care. They don't care about the genocide taking place. They don't care about all the pedophilia. They don't care that we're all slaves. It's really strange. Right? And it's just so fucking... It's so telling when you look at what's being presented to you. It doesn't take some genius super sleuth detective, finding the most insignificant clues and exposing, what they really mean. No, this is obvious. This is fucking obvious. This whole thing, this whole show that we're being given, from the initial aspect of it, where you're from birth, you're told that you're this thing, you're a Christian, here are your symbols, and you believe this, you believe that. Before you have any sort of real training in anything, you've been baptized, and you've had all these weird rituals, and you've seen such crazy shit. You've seen your parents act in this fantasy way that they don't act like this in any other way. And to you, it's kind of cool. Especially when you story has superheroes and supervillains and magic powers. And you're like, fuck yeah. And the even worse part is you're told, your eternal salvation requires this. Like, people always say, kids are too young to be shown gay people. They can't see gay people. They can't see people in trans because that confuses them and all kinds of stupid shit. Their brains aren't capable of handling this yet, or making these decisions yet. They use this to discount or to justify their bigotry. But they have no comment on the idea of telling children that if they don't follow an impossible set of rules, that they'll burn in hell for all of eternity. Especially if they happen to be gay. And they're like, wait a minute, I didn't pick this. I wouldn't pick this. If I could pick to be something different, I would, but I happen to like boys. You mean I have to go to hell? And they see that in your everyday life, like they're told this Bible existence is one thing, but then they see how the parents have tattoos, smoke, drink, do whatever they, lots and lots of different things that you're not really supposed to do according to the Bible. You're not necessarily following the rules. And so they see that you're not even following the rules, that the rules are so impossible to follow. What do you think that does to little kids? How do you think that fucks with them? That, like, one, they're gonna die, but when they die, they're more than likely gonna burn in hell for all of eternity. It's another really fucked up thing we do to children? We tell them about dinosaurs. Right? Little kids think dinosaurs are just amazing. They love them. Little boys, big giant monsters. I mean, how cool is that shit? Hey, mommy, daddy, what happened to the dinosaurs? Oh, well, big rock fell out of the sky and killed everything, sweetheart. And the kid's supposed to be like, oh, okay. Hey, can that happen again? Yeah, it can happen again, but it won't. Why not? Because we believe in Jesus. Like, it ends up just being really stupid, right? Look at this shit. Look at how they're trying their best to get people to you know, to turn away from the feed. The people that are here for hours on end want other people to stop watching, attacking other people for commenting. And then dumbass says, oh, so submarines aren't real, but dinosaurs are. Who said anything about dinosaurs being real? You see what I mean? When people are desperate, when they can't actually make a real argument, they start making up dumb shit and out themselves. Nobody said anything about dinosaurs being real. But you're not, I guess you're just not capable of following the flow of the conversation. I'm not really sure what the issue might be, but again, I have to assume because it's not like you're going to say it. For those wondering, this doofus has been here for months. I'm telling you, months. Day after day, for hours at a time, this guy has been here, swang-a-langing from my nuts, trying to get my attention. It's the wildest shit, man. It really is crazy. And so you, like I say, you have to ask, who is that? What dumbass person is going to do that and make themselves look so stupid and provide the example that I need provided? That's the best part. Like, I need you to do this. This makes it so much easier for me. You know, where it would be difficult to maybe get the point across.
Man, this is just like
You just make it, you know, this, all I have to do is point to you.
like the surgeon making a hip hop beat. I just can't complete
Just, you know.
no matter how hard I work.
And again, I encourage people to try to like figure it out. How does it make sense? Do you really think that there are this many people out there? Well, this is again why I think there's still so many Trump supporters, because I think that there's a lot more pedos out there than people realize. If you follow, like I would assume most people that are here know of at least one pedophile hunter. You know about Chris Hansen. You know about Gordon Flowers or DAP or Pop Squad or something like that, right? Creep catchers. Justin Payne. There's a lot of these guys out there doing just amazing work, right? And what you'll see is these guys are catching people every day, sometimes multiple people a day. If it's a big operation like a Chris Hansen thing, they're catching, 40 people in a weekend. And the thing is, the people getting caught is just the smallest percentage. Right? It's the smallest percentage that are compelled, so compelled that they override common sense and go to this obviously set up situation. It's such an obvious setup. It's hard to believe that anybody falls for it, but it just points to how compelled they are. Their compulsion overrides their common sense. And they, sorry, I love the songs in the background. This is just the smallest percentage. When you look at the behind the scenes shit for any of these groups, they talk about it how as soon as they post the profile, as soon as they post a picture of someone that looks young, and then even though they had to check 18 to be there, the name is like, Little Susie 2015 or something like that. Little Susie 2013 or whatever. Something that points to an obviously much younger age, or along with the profile picture points to a younger person. And immediately the profile is just ding, 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 ding. All of these adult men saying, hey, what's up? Not one of them has good intentions. There is no reason why any adult male is reaching out to a teenager. I mean, if you know, you're 22 and you're talking to a 19-year-old, that's one thing. There are obvious lines drawn here. But if you're 20 years old and you're talking to a 16-year-old, something's going on. 20 years old talking to a 13-year-old, something's going on. You literally have no reason to have any sort of interaction, engagement. There's nothing that this little teenager has to offer you that is worth you talking to them. So every single person that reaches out to these profiles, no matter what kind of good front they put on, is a motherfucker. Is fucking bullshit. And like I say, the number that gets caught is just the smallest percentage. These profiles get hit up hundreds, if not thousands of times. And these are the people that don't have the compulsion yet to actually engage with a child. But I guarantee they have pictures, they have videos, they have a search history they wouldn't want you to see. Somebody has to be those people hitting up the profile over and over again. And if you look up the registry in your neighborhood, you'd be amazed by how many houses light up. Again, those are just the people that got caught. Do you not get, like, that is the number of people that are, the trading of images and videos isn't one of the biggest online businesses because it's a small group of people. And that includes, you're looking at a picture of a 13-year-old girl in a fucking bathing suit, whatever it may be. Like, that shit is, you're a sick fuck. You're a sick fuck. And it's those people that are on that I haven't gotten that far yet side, I only look at things that are sent to me side, that are the ones that go, well, at the very least, Trump's only associated with a cover-up for a pedo, Never mind all the charges and all that shit. Never mind all the payoffs. Never mind all the admissions. Do you have a limit? No. Well, I don't want to get caught fooling around with a 12-year-old. I own the pageant, so I just go into the dressing room so I can inspect things. Like, this is a psychopath. And for anybody to, like, up until, I mean, to me, he's always been associated with pedophilia, but most people didn't know it, right? Most people just knew he represented racism, sexism, and homophobia. So by rocking that hat, they could essentially be like, yes, I'm also a racist, sexist, and homophobic. And be relatively accepted in society. Now, it directly is addressed, it's like directly associated with pedophilia. And until it's not, until it's proven that he's completely innocent, he definitely shouldn't still be in office. But until, he's proven innocent, if he's still getting your support and your respect and shit, like, I can't imagine it would be Obama. You fucking idiots still talk about Michelle Obama as a man strictly because Joan Rivers one time said everybody knows Obama's gay and Michelle's a man. And then she died shortly afterward. But you guys are more than okay with assigning, this really sort of, mean bullshit comment to the black woman with no evidence other than, look, somebody took a picture and her dress folded a certain way. Somebody photoshopped something. And the crazy part is, even if it was true and Michelle really used to be a man and Obama's a gay dude, that literally takes nothing away from his presidency. It doesn't harm anybody. It doesn't hurt anything. It's not, nobody else is implicated in any sort of crime. Nothing. They just pulled a fast one on you and showed you that these people you so willingly discriminate against can actually do something important like run a country. But you guys are more than willing to say that. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Michelle's a man. What about Trump being a pedo? Well, I don't know about that. Like, it's just such, there's the mountain of evidence that Trump is a really, really bad guy. And yet, you're much more concerned with Michelle having a dick. Sky Daddy is a motherfucker. The thing is, a lot of the Christians or a lot of Palestinians are actually Christian. And for you to arrogantly think that your God is granting your prayers, but I guess those Palestinians that are getting the bombs dropped on them, they must not be praying the right way. They must not have their eyes closed hard enough. All those children praying that God keeps them safe each night. And then the tent that they live in, because their house has already been destroyed, gets hit by a bomb. They didn't pray right? How did they not pray right? What about all the little boys and girls, but boys that are being held by the Vatican, that are brought out to the rape parties and shit? Because it's pretty well documented. And we all know that when somebody says pedophile, priest is one of the first words that comes to mind, right? How your God seems to be a pretty big fan. Your God does nothing about that. And you're going to say, oh, that's free will, because you're stupid and you believe that there can be a God's plan and a free will. But like, you've been taught to override pedophilia being a deal breaker from birth. Just like you've been bred to believe that you are second class. So instead of $3.8 billion a year being put into U.S. infrastructure, being put into a proper pedophile hunter program that does the job that all these random nobodies on YouTube can do amazingly well, but the government seems to do a really bad job at. Or drug programs, or abused women and children programs, or literally anything other than giving it to Israel. You guys are all okay with that? Is that how that works? I forgot the point I was making when I first started that. Because the details are just so atrocious. It really is just so fucked up to think what is happening. And that's, that's what I was saying, is like who out there thinks we should continue to not give money, to use our tax dollars? They should be stolen and given to another country. How is it you've been bred to be so racist, so America first in every regard, but that one? It's really scary, right? It's really scary how obvious the control network is, and how obvious all of it is. I've been waiting. This is so obvious what's happening. And, like, do you really not want to do something about it? I don't know. Like, I know if I was a millionaire, a big there'd be, like, it's weird to me that there's not more action being done by famous people. Like, think about if a 60s revival happened, and instead of everybody being concerned with Vietnam, everybody was concerned with the genocide of the Palestinians. I know, yep, see, look at this shit. Nobody says anything that matters. Here we go. Jesus Christ, let's see. I am an ex-heroin addict, and I was homeless, and my father got beat to death in the streets of Dayton, and I know what injustice is and the true suffering, and only Jesus saved you. So all of the time that stuff was happening, what was Jesus doing? It seems to be one of those parts you want to overlook, but I'm really interested in what you have to say. What was Jesus doing watching all that take place? And are you honestly going to say that up until the point where Jesus saved you, you had never prayed, you had never been laying there all fucked up like, okay, I promise, if I just wake up tomorrow, then I'll stop and I'll do everything I can, and please, Jesus, just help me. That never happened to you. I used to be like you. Oh, a lot of drugs that separate the Holy Spirit. Gotta be go, yeah. So if you used to be, what happened? What was that thing that happened that made you suddenly believe? Because you were never like me, but you suddenly believe that this one particular narrative is true. See, this is where arrogance always comes in. And this is the thing that you guys just want to avoid altogether. You're going to keep talking about some bullshit, like arrogant shit. Where I keep asking you, what is it that you're doing differently that the Palestinians aren't doing? What is it that you're doing differently that all the little boys in the church that keep getting raped, what are they not doing? How are they not praying correctly? The Holy Spirit hears the body inside out. Look at how dumb these comments are going to get. As soon as we start talking about religion and I start asking questions, they're just going to start it's just going to start parroting. Like, rah, Jesus is the light. Rah, rah. Like, that's all they can do. They're not going to be able to have any sort of intelligent discussion on this. God should free the Palestinians and the Syrians if he's so powerful. Right. Why wouldn't he? Like, there are literally children starving to death. If you've put your head in the sand, which is something ostriches don't do, by the way. But if you've put your head in the sand, with your head in the sand, your ass is wide open, man. And you're if you haven't seen the videos of the emaciated, on death's door Palestinian children who look like they weigh 10 pounds, who can barely move. Like, it's the most heart-wrenching footage you can find, and there's definitely none of that footage coming out of Israel. You know, the Israelis aren't the ones in any sort of peril whatsoever. The only ones that die are like soldiers and shit. And it's usually friendly fire. But let's see. Let's see. Out of the abundance of the heart of the mouth speaketh the issue. See, look what I mean. Can't answer simple questions. Religion means nothing. It's what's inside you that separates us, brother. What does, yes, if you believe in God, then you're religious. You arrogant fool. To think you get to believe in the God, but you don't have to follow the rules. Who the fuck do you think you are? Look at all this shit. Oh, it's not apartheid. It's a genocide. It's beyond apartheid. It was apartheid prior to October 7th. Yapping, the real footage. That's real footage, but the footage of October 7th isn't real. Yes, there's a lot of real fake footage from October 7th. Nobody likes to answer this question, but if you're trying to escape a music festival that there's gunshots being fired at, and you're in your car, are you going to jump out of your car and start running across a wide open field? Or would you drive the fuck away in your metal box? Literally, there's no footage to prove what they say happened. Just like there wasn't, 1,139 funerals, 1,000 funerals that took place in the next couple days. We know how they are about their funerals. Generally, they happen within hours of the death, supposedly. So where are all the funerals from that thing? It's just bullshit. No Israelis died. The eyes are the windows, so blah, 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 blah. See, this is what's interesting, is you would think, again, these Christians would have better things to say. And the fact that they know they can't answer for what I'm asking them, and they're not, like, man enough, they're not big enough to be like, holy shit, I never thought about it that way. I can't answer that. That's fucked up. Like, they won't say anything like that. It's just some childish bullshit. I worked in a mental hospital, blah, blah. Yep, people just like me who don't believe in Sky Daddy from the mental hospital. Now because we're too stupid to actually make any sort of real arguments, now we're going to the typical Christian insults. Because it's all they have. You worked in the mental hospital with people like me who don't believe in Sky Daddy, don't talk to the voices in their head, don't think that everything's being manipulated by a malevolent force, that omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient force that lets children die and get raped. Yep, I'm the crazy one. I'm not forcing anything on anyone. The thing is, if truth is real, if it's true, people will steal it. People will make fake profiles just so they can watch it. If it's the truth, if it's the real, no one has to force it on you. No one has to threaten death or imprisonment for you to believe it. And if what you have is true and real, you don't get upset when people ask you about it. You look at that as an opportunity to help educate people, to help people understand. Literally everything that's the opposite of what you guys do. It's like Sky Daddy wants war. Why is any wars happening? Same thing as with the pedophiles, especially in the church. Why doesn't Sky Daddy give every clergy who because Sky Daddy knows like what's gonna happen, you know, time, you know, it's a plan, right? So Sky Daddy knows that when you leave the house that day, you're gonna probably go rape a kid. Why doesn't Sky Daddy give you a heart attack the first time? And the second time, give you a massive heart attack that kills you. I'd suggest that kills you in the first place, but gotta have the warning out there. If clergy just started having heart attacks shortly before, you know, as they were planning on raping a child, word would spread. What were you thinking? What was going on? Well, I was thinking about going and messing with little Billy again, and suddenly I had a heart attack. Why doesn't that ever happen? How come in the history of Jesusdom, of Goddom, no cop has ever been driving through a neighborhood and suddenly Jesus appears next to him and says, "Stop the car, my child." And they stop the car and they say, "Go kick in that door right there and rescue those children." "I don't have a warrant." "Tell him Jesus sent you." And the guy goes and kicks in the door and saves, you know, 38 children in a ring, or saves 2 children, 5, whatever. And the system goes, "Yeah, well, you know, why did you do that? You didn't have a warrant." And he says that God appeared next to me and told me to do it. How come that's never ever happened? You know, God's always there to like tell people, you know, how that watching people run, watching people play football and shit like that. But never appears to somebody with the ability to protect children. I know we got off the subject of Kapparot. You know what? Let's do that. let's look that back up. All right, so Kapparot is a customary atonement ritual practiced by some Orthodox Jays on the eve of Yom Kippur. This is a practice in which either money is waved over a person's head to try and transfer the sins of the person and then donated to charity, or else a chicken is waved over the head to try and transfer said person's sins and then slaughtered in accordance with Halachic ritual and donated to the hungry. Which on the surface may sound decent, like I guess, but when you really think about it, the idea that they're transferring their sinful, nasty energy to money that they give to someone else, like misfortune money. Wonder who they give that money to. I wonder if they donate that money to their synagogue, or if this is the time that they give it to the poor goyim. Which I can't imagine this is the one they do very often anyway. When it comes to either doing one for free or one that costs money, like what, I don't know how much money is involved. Is it $1? Is it that they do $1 over their head and then they just walk by and stuff it in a homeless goyim's penny jar or some shit? Or is it a certain amount of money that has to be done? And then the idea of the chicken, that they put the sins into the chicken, kill the chicken, and then feed it to people. Who do they feed it to? Do they feed it to themselves and they eat this sinful chicken? Or do they give that chicken to, again, goyim? Hopefully we'll get that answer. It's donated to the hungry. It is important to clarify that it is not a sacrifice, as it is not an offering, and it can be eaten just as any other chicken. This is how they get around any sort of cruelty accusations, right? because they're not actually sacrificing animals. Only those psychopath Incas and shit like that, they sacrificed animals. Nobody in today's world sacrifices animals to their god without being called out for being crazy, right? This is literally how they get around this. 38 likes, 43 viewers, totally makes sense. If you're watching and you're interested by this or whatever, like, share, sub, help out. Take 2 seconds to share this on Facebook. If you need to, share it with the heading, "This guy's crazy." Do whatever it takes. But it's like, it's important to clarify, we're not actually sacrificing animals now. I mean, we are, but we're giving it to people to eat after we do it, so that makes it okay, right? We're just killing them in an unorthodox kind of way. On the afternoon before Yom Kippur, one prepares an item to be donated to the poor for consumption at the pre-Yom Kippur meal. I assume, again, the poor is not them. Recites 2 biblical passages of Psalms 107:17 through 20 and Job 33:23 through 24. I read those. They're just weird. 17 through 20 says, "Crazed because of the way of their transgression, and afflicted because of their iniquities, their soul abhorred all manner of food, and they drew near unto the gates of death. They cried unto the Lord in their trouble, and he saved them out of their distress. He sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their graves." Oh. Again, what were they doing that God listened? This is Job 33, what is it? It's 23:24, okay. "If there be him an angel, an intercessor, one among 1,000, to vouch for a man's uprightness, then he is gracious unto him, and saith, Deliver him from going down to the pit. I have found a ransom." These are the prayers that they recite when they're killing the chicken. "Then swings the prepared charitable donation over one's head 3 times while reciting a short prayer 3 times." Swings the prepared charitable donation. The chicken. But because IsraelNationalNews.com.
In conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
Okay, so that's Naftali Bennett on the IsraelNationalNews.com. Naftali Bennett is, at the time, a future Prime Minister of Israel and a high-ranking Israeli operative. He's telling you how they control Wikipedia. So the fact that I'm reading Wikipedia means I'm reading what they want us to know. That's why it's called a prepared charitable donation. Because if they, kept restating, they kept stating that it was a chicken, that it was a life form that was being sacrificed, that would look bad. Using a rooster in one variant of the practice of Kapparot, the item to be donated to charity is a rooster. They just keep, it's funny how they keep saying that. The item to be donated to charity. not the sacrifice, the item to be donated to charity. You're telling me we wrote that, huh? Yep. The most accurate book ever written. What is? Read Acts 7:43. It will make sense. Sure it will. Let's see. 7:43. Let's see. It doesn't say anything here. It doesn't give it to me. It's weird. All right, well, let's try. Ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Remphan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. Oh yeah, that makes everything make a lot more sense. Oh Jesus, what are we talking about here? Such nonsense. Such fucking nonsense. Seriously. It's all just such weird, goofy ass nonsense. In this case, the rooster is swung overhead while still alive. Grab it by the head and the neck and swing it around. I love you, Blush. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Just admit you've run out of shit to say and you can't come up with any reasonable arguments. You want to talk about everything, but what are you going through in your own personal life right now? So I should be talking about me and not the much bigger picture argument. Oh, that's what it is. Please, everybody, let's talk about me. You guys want to talk about me? I'm really arrogant and I need to talk about me. Who's going to go to somebody else's page and tell them not to talk about something, especially when it's something like biblical? Why would you not want people to talk about this? It's really interesting what motivates someone. Instead of even saying what they're motivated by, what am I getting wrong and how am I getting it wrong? It's just this kind of dumb nonsense. You should focus on what's going on in your own life. Never mind all those children being starved to death and slaughtered for religious reasons. Never mind holding your God accountable for any of this shit. And the thing is, again, it's not like you can answer the questions being put forth. When I'm asking you, you believe this shit, so what are the Palestinians not doing correctly? Why are they continuing to be slaughtered, especially since a lot of them are Christians? What do they do differently than you do? I mean, I know you don't want to acknowledge your parents and grandparents having sex, but because your grandparents and parents had sex here, that gives you more rights than they have? After the Kapparot ritual is concluded, the rooster is treated as a normal kosher poultry product. It is slaughtered according to the laws of Shechita. It is then given to charity for consumption at the Yom Kippur pre-meal. So again, who are the poor people eating this food at the Yom Kippur pre-meal? This is crazy. We're reading about this, the Kapparot, where they put the sins in the chicken.
Oh.
And then, so get this. They either wave money over their heads, and then that transfers the sins into the money, and then they give it to charity. Or they wave a chicken over their head, kill the chicken, and then give the killed chicken to charity. So either way, they're transferring their sins
To charity.
to
To the poor people
to
that are already...
to the needy. Right. In this case, a prayer is recited. Who gives a shit? All right, sources. The practice of Kapparot is mentioned for the first time by Amram ben Sheshan of Surah Academy in Babylonia in 670, and later by some other dude also of Surah Academy in 853. So they like to say their shit goes back like it's the year 5,000 something. So they go back at least, 3,000 BC according to them. And yet nobody mentioned this shit until 670? It's weird, don't you think? According to Joshua Trottenberg, the rite probably originated toward the end of the Talmudic period. Jewish scholars in the 9th century explained that since the Hebrew word means both man and rooster, the rooster may substitute as a religious and spiritual vessel in place of a man. So the part they're dancing around is that they can also do this with a human. Transfer their sins to another human, to a goyim, and sacrifice the person. Oh, how fucked up is that? And it's interesting how it's mentioned at this one little point. Wow. Historical controversy. Kapparot was strongly opposed by some rabbis, among them Who Gives a Fuck. According to the Menabara Baruch, his reasoning was based on the caution that it is similar to non-Jewish rites. Yeah. But so this is like what they do, and we don't want to do what they do. The Ashkenazi rabbi Moses Israelis disagreed with Caro and encouraged Kapparot. In Ashkenazi communities especially, Rabbi Israeli's position came to be widely accepted since Ashkenazi Jays will generally follow the Halachic rulings of Rabbi Israelis, where the Sephardic and Ashkenazic customs differ. So again, sort of making choices then. This isn't like, this is just more, there's no commandment or anything to do that. They just, somehow, this one rabbi, he changed it all up and made it a certain way, and then everybody was like, yeah, let's do that. So wait, every year I can just do all kinds of shit and then transfer it onto a chicken and then I'm good to go? Yeah, I'll do that. Fuck yeah. It was also approved by some dude from 1250 to 1327 and his son Jacob ben Asher, 1269 to 1343, and other commentators. The ritual was also supported by Kabbalists such as Isaiah Horowitz and Isaac Luria, who recommended the selection of a white rooster as reference to Isaiah 1:18. Come now, and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they may be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. What? Why would anyone believe this shit? It's so weird. And who found other mystic illusions in the prescribed formulas. Consequently, the practice became generally accepted among the Ashkenazi Jews and Hasidism in Eastern Europe. The Mishnah Baruch agrees with Rabbi Israelis, solidifying support for the practice among Lithuanian Jews as well. The Mishnah Baruch also only supports the use of money, i.e. not a chicken, if there might be a problem with the slaughter due to haste or fatigue. In the late 19th century work, Yaakov Chaim Sofer approves of the custom for Sephardi Jays as well. Oh, well, okay, well, as long as they do. Oops. Some Jays oppose the use of chickens for Kapparot on the grounds of I don't know. The practice of banning cruelty to animals. The American nonprofit PETA has made the claim that more than 2/3 of all slaughtered birds are simply thrown in the trash, while the Kapparot organizers claim that the sites donate the dead chickens to feed the poor. Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, I could actually see them doing that because they would get a kick out of us eating their sins. On Yom Kippur Eve 2005, a number of caged chickens were abandoned in rainy weather as part of a Kapparot operation in Brooklyn, New York. Some of these starving and dehydrated chickens were subsequently rescued by the Animal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Jacob Kalish, an Orthodox J man from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, was charged with animal cruelty for the drowning deaths of 35 of these Kapparot chickens. Jesus. In response to such reports in the mainstream reports of the mistreatment of chickens, the J animal rights organizations have begun to picket public observations of animal Kapparot, particularly in Israel. Proponents of the animal Kapparot ritual in the United States argue that, I bet the argument is going to be, well, we've done it for a long time. The practice to be constitutionally protected as an exercise of freedom of religion in the United States, which is further supported by the 1993 Supreme Court of the United States decision in the case of Church of Lukumi Babalu Avenue versus City of Hillel. In that case, the court upheld the right of Santeria adherents to practice ritual animal sacrifice, with Justice Attorney Kennedy stating in the decision, these beliefs need not be acceptable, logical, consistent, or comprehensible to others in order to merit First Amendment protection. That is fucking crazy. That's why they're allowed to do the cutty slicey sucky. I mean, that's just crazy. And who's to say, like, your religion, like, if you commit a crime, where does that protection end? However, the Supreme Court's principal concern in its decision was that the city of Hillel specifically targeted a religious ritual, curbing the religious rights of a specific community, which conflicts with the First Amendment's Establishment Clause. And that's that. That's the end of it. That's all we get. Crazy. Anyway, all right. That's enough. Fucking exhausted. You guys just don't even get it. Anyway, have yourself a fantastic day. Go get your free download. www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. It's free. All we ask is that you share it with somebody. It'll ask you how much you want to pay. You can donate. We really appreciate the donations. But it's free. Just say 0 and it's free, and all we ask is that you share it with someone. I'm going to leave you with a link to Hollywoodism, the most important film ever made. It literally explains everything I've talked about. And it's them doing it. At one point, a woman says, basically, or essentially, you could say the American dream is the Jewish dream. It's a movie that if I made it word for word, and instead of saying us and we, I said they and them, it would get panned as being, full of tropes and, can't say this, can't say that. So go watch it. It really does explain everything if you let it. It's kind of boring, especially the first 20 minutes, but once it gets going, it's fascinating. And I suggest rewinding parts and rewatching and really getting an understanding of everything you're seeing in that movie. I'm also going to leave you with links to the Facebook page, the music videos on Facebook for Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, and Sleight of Hand Job. Go check all those out. Go share them. Like, share, sub this. I appreciate everyone being here, even the trolls, because they provide the example. They make this so much easier than if I was doing it on my own. So I appreciate you. I do ask one thing, that because the laws are what they are, and because, even if you're just watching videos, you're facilitating children being hurt. I consider you a pedo. And I beg of you, because we can't do it ourselves, the laws are all fucked up. Whether you've hurt somebody directly yet or not, if you're a pedo in any sort of way, do the right thing. Do one really good thing in your life. And pedophiles, kill yourself.